Hi, good afternoon. So this afternoon I have a project that I want to share with everyone. So the project is to develop a student data management system, basically like how GCTU ours is like. So and we are also using Visual Basic Windows Forum for that. So let's get into it. So basically the entities that are supposed to appear in our data grid view when we run the code: student ID, the student index number, the student name, class score, exam score, credit hours, the grade, and then the grade point. So when we run the code, yes, it's supposed to take the class code that the user inputs into this text box, and then the exam score that the user inputs here, add it together and then multiply it by the credit hours the user inputs here too. That will give us the grade and then the grade point. So let's take a look at the code. Yes, so at the very top of my Form 1 class, you see these two lines, option strict on and then option explicit on. So these are really important because the option strict on basically tells the VB.NET that be strict about the data types. So it helps me catch errors during development, like accidentally trying to put text into a number field, which prevents a lot of issues later on. And then the option split on just ensures that I declare every variable before I use it, which keeps the code tidy and then avoids any typing errors that will lead to unintended variables. Okay, so moving on, we have the private table as new data table bracket my table. So I'm creating a data table object here and I'm making it private to this class, meaning that only the code inside form 1 can access it, and then declaring it here outside of any specific sub or function. It also becomes accessible to all parts of my form. Like when the form loads and I click the add button here. So when a form loads and then I click the add button there, the data table is essentially the in-memory spreadsheet where all the students' data will come. So when I input all the data here, then I click add, the student data is supposed to come here just like you see on an Excel sheet. So it will come start with the student ID, the student index number, his or her name, their class code, their exam score, their credit hours, the grade, and then the grade points. Okay, so now let's look here. So this code runs automatically when my form loads up. It's a perfect place to do the initial setup for the application that we are trying to create or do. Let me say create. Okay, so we come here, we see all these table dot columns. So when we take table dot columns dot add bracket id comma get type bracket integer. So this the one that comes the one all the ones in the bracket, it defines the column. Yeah, so when we click add, all the information here will be in a column. So the table dot columns dot add is what will make all these information, the ID, index number, name, class score, exam score, total score, credit hours, grade, and then grade points. It will bring all of them here and then arrange them nicely in columns here. So for the user to access or see when they input the variables. So just like so for you need to identify each and every variable that the user is supposed to input here. So for ID, it's integer index number ID is integer index number string name is a string class score exam score total score credit hours are all integers. The grade is a string, that's a text, and then the grade point is also an integer, that's for numbers. So that would tell all these. This will tell it will tell what kind of data each column is supposed to expect. So I've made sure that all the fields will be collecting the total score and grade point, which we will calculate later. So we didn't add it here, but when we input all the variables here and then we click on add, we'll, there is a column that will also appear for the total score. Okay, moving on. So we have this block of code here that is it is the if if not me dot controls dot contains key is from here. So this block of code here. So after defining the columns, the if statement is just a quick check to make sure that the data grid view one, which is this, is to make sure that the data grid view one control actually exists on the form. If it's missing, it gives me a friendly message. Assume so. This line connects. Hold on. So the line connects my data grid view control. That's the grid or table you see on the form, which is this, to the data table. Sorry, to the data table I just set up. This means that any data I add to table will automatically show up in the grid view. Come back. So, moving on. Private sub button add underscore click to represent as object. Yes, event adds handles button click dot click. So now let's come to the logic behind this project, or say the core logic. The button click, the button add click. This code will run anytime I input the variables here. The variables, the student ID, student index number, the name, the class code, the exam score, credit hours. And anytime I input these and then I hit add, or I click on the button add, it will take the class score and the exam score, add it together, and then multiply it by the credit hours to give you the grade and then the grade points. So basically, this block of code here will run anytime the user inputs the right variables in here and then click on the add button. That will do the calculations for us. So now here we need to declare a few variables like student ID, the class for exam score, and credit hours. And I'm declaring them here because they are temporarily we are going to temporarily hold the values that the user types into the text boxes. So these here. Okay. So now moving on. So this whole block of chain, sorry, from this from all this up to here. So this whole block of code, this here is the input validation. This is very important because instead of just directly converting text to numbers, which would crash the which would sorry I'm starting which would crash my program. But it would crash my program because if these are not if I don't include this section in my coding and then just go right ahead and then do anything, I take it out. And then the user, let's say the user using it mistakenly or intentionally puts let's say A B C D here, it will crash my program. So I put it here so that the function safely tries to convert text to an integer. If it succeeds, id gets the number and the if statement is skipped. And also if it fails, it means that the user types something that's non-numeric. You get to, just like I was saying, let's see if the user types ABCD here, it will fail, which will mean that the ABCD is non-numeric. So you need to type a numeric variable here. So if it fails, it means the user typed a non-numeric variable there. And then it just brings up a message box to tell the user exactly what went wrong so that the user can go back and then type the correct variable. And I'm also using if string dot is null or white space to bracket the index number, name, class code, exam score. I'm using this so that it checks if the user left the textbook completely empty or just filled it with spaces. So let's say the user was supposed to type the student ID here, but just decided to leave it empty or just hit the space bar continuously just for it to fill up or something like that. If they do so again, a message box will pop up again and then stop processing until they enter the valid data. So until the user enters the valid data or the correct variable, the program will not continue. Yeah, and I included this part because if it's not included, it may crash the program. Yes, it may crash the program, and then it also makes the program user friendly. Okay, so moving on. So here, sorry, from here to here. So we've confirmed after we've confirmed that all inputs are valid, we move on to the calculations. But first, the first one is a simple one, the total score, which is basically just taking the class score and then the exam score to give us the total score. That's just straightforward. And then we have this: if total score is greater than or equal to 8, then grade equals A. So this here is our grading system. So if the total score is above 80 or is equal to 80, then automatically the user's grade is A, or the student's grade will be A. So let's say the index student ID 24 something something like that, and then index number 41212300045, and then the student name is, let's say, Kweku. So let's say the class score is 40 and then the exam score is 60. The credit hours is 18. So it will take the class score and then the exam score, add it together, and then multiply it by the credit hours, which is 18, which will give you the grade that is A plus, which is here. So it has to be equal to or above 80, which will give you automatically A. And then we'll later on calculate the grade point. So same for this one, if it's greater than or equal to 70, then it's a B. But as long as it's greater than 70, but not is greater than 70 and less than 80, which is 79 to 70, it's a B. And then from 69 to 60 is a C, which is here. Else if total score is greater than equals to 60, then grade equals C. Then same for here, 50, the grade will be D. Same for here, 40, the grade will be E. So when we come here, if it's none of these, if it doesn't fall between this category, which is from 40 to 100, it can be graded, so it's automatically an F, which is from 39 to 0. That's that will give you an F. So let's say the class score is 10, and then the exam score, the student also had 10. That will give you 20. You multiply it by the credit hours, you get F automatically. So moving on. So yes, so this this code, grade point equals total score asterisk credit hours score. So you can use the asterisk will represent the multiplication sign in the code. So grade point is equal to total score asterisk credit hours. That will give the students grade point. Okay. So here, table. Sorry. So the table the rows dot add. So these will be the rows. We have the student ID, index number, student name, class score, exam score, total score. So I included the total score here because that will come later after you've calculated the class score and the exam score, after you've added both of them together. And then we have credit hours, grade, and then grade points. So this line will just take all the individual pieces of data, the ID, index number, name, scores, calculated total score, credit hours, grade, and then grade points, and then add them as a brand new row to our data table because our data grid view is connected to this table. Okay. And then finally, for good user experience, after a record is successfully added, I use .clear on all the input text boxes. This this will just empty the text boxes out. So after the user inputs a student's ID, their index number, their name, class score, exam score, credit hours, and then it calculates, and then uh, it's it's being recorded in the data grid view. It will automatically, as long the moment it records in the data grid view, automatically the text box will clear out so that the user can also input another data for another student. So the moment you just just finish one student's data input. You click on add, it will it will record the student's data in the data grid view, and then it will just move the case automatically back to the student ID, which is the first textbook. Sorry. So that's all. So that's how my student data management system works. It's just uh, a A good includes validation, clear calculation logic for grid and then grid points, and a dynamic display in our data preview, which will just record the student's data. So let's run and see how it works. So student ID, it should be a whole number. So let's say 245102365. Then index number 4121230045. Let's see, student's name is Lomote. Sorry. And then class score at 40, exam score at 60, credit hours is 18. Then add. When you click add, see it just added student ID, index number, curriculum class score is 40, exam score 60, and then total score 100. Credit hours here grade A because here it's greater or equal to 80, so it's automatically a grade A. So yes, you see the case is now back to the student ID. Let's input, try another one. 24576832412123088. Then Achua Mansa, class score 20, exam score let's see 40, credit hours 18. Sorry. You see, it's not a whole number. She gets it. So let's see this. Yes. So now this would be Adramansis. Let me make it big. This would be Adramansis. This is Adramansis data. Student ID, index number, Adramansis class score 20, exam score 60, total score 60, and then credit hours 18. So Adramansa will get grade C in grade points. Back to next ID 21457, index number 412103225. Name is Kwabena Boche. Class score 10, exam score 10, credit hours 18. F. So Kwabena Boche's data will be this. Class score, exam score, total score is 20, multiplied by the credit hours automatically is grade F. So basically that's it for my students data management system. I decided to call it that because yes. So basically that's how it works. Then yeah. So thank you all for watching. See you another time.